Well, we spent this morning wrapping things up with our players, and so good exit meetings with those guys, and just setting the expectation on what the future's got to be here. 2-14 is unacceptable. We've spent a year now getting familiarized with each other, players and coaches, and schematically things that we can improve upon. But we know that this isn't what we strive for, and so we got to be a lot better when guys come back in April. And so, but I do think it was a good attitude this morning. It's good to have that winning feeling to finish the year off. We didn't get to experience a lot of that, but you get reminded of that before you're walking out the door of this is what a locker room's supposed to feel like. This is what a full game's supposed to feel like. And so we got to try to capture that as best we can and use that to motivate us in the offseason. But so far everything's been good with the players today, and again now we're on to the offseason. So we still get a chance to spend this week as a coaching staff processing everything and what our directions are going to be moving forward. But excited to start that process and see how much we can improve ourselves this offseason.
Can you give us some insight of what those conversations were like and what the expectations are going forward?
With the players you're talking about?
Yeah.
Just our standard. I sit in here and talk about it all the time and just what it looks like. And at times there was drastic improvement in a lot of areas, but ultimately our record is what it is. And it says kind of where we were this year. And so next year's got to be significantly better in all areas, So it's one thing for the coaches to be the ones to say it all the time, and now the players understand the schemes better. It's time for the players to take that ownership to the next level and demand accountability from all their teammates in everything that we do, and that's the best way to be a championship team.
Is that level of understanding enough to make you believe that next year can be different, or what else needs to be done?
I certainly think there's room for a lot of improvement. We could feel it in a lot of areas, and now you get a chance to spend a whole off season. One of the things that comes in as a new group on offense and defense, and there's certainly a lot of things that you work on in the off season that you think is going to be the way your team's going to play, and then as the season gets going and you get a better understanding of your personnel and some of the challenges with the opponents you're facing, things evolve. And I think you saw that in the second half of the season on both sides of the ball. Things evolved and improved. And so now you get a chance to really capture that the entire offseason, and the players come back with a better understanding of what we expect from them. And that allows for drastic improvement for the next season.
What's the first order of business in the offseason?
Cleaning up some of the loose ends from this season, making sure while things are still fresh on your mind, you document them to prepare yourself for when the players come back. Because it's one thing to start preparing in March and April for those guys to come back, and you forget some of the things that are fresh. You just played 16 games. So to make sure we got all that in order, and then to start preparing, I don't think anything's been official with the Senior Bowl yet. That would be a great opportunity for our staff if that is able to happen for us. Something we would welcome and want to get a great chance to coach those guys and see what they're all about. But that's the next step for us, is evaluating our own roster and where we want to head, and then from there starting to get ready for free agency and start to scout these guys for the draft.
Do you want to have some of the guys with expiring deals? Do you want them in AJ? Do you want all that stuff to be done preferably before free agency starts? I mean, what does that timeline look like?
Well, those are things we get a chance to talk to this week, and so that we're all on the same page and make those decisions. But right now I don't have anything further on that stuff.
Any coaching staff changes?
Again, we're still ironing everything out and making sure that we get a chance to really evaluate ourselves and make the best decisions going forward.
Zach, when you see that Freddie and Shermer got fired, and you feel like you have some job security despite a 2-14 record, what does that mean to you?
Well, thankful to have a job. There's no question about that, because the expectations are so much higher, and I there's a belief here that we're heading in the right direction. Although it didn't show in the wins and losses, we know that we're going to get this thing turned around, and there's going to be great days ahead. And fortunate that the Brown family sees that and believes in that. It's hard. It's a hard profession. It happens out there. We all knew that it was going to happen to somebody. Those are two good men. That. It's hard to see that happen to somebody, but that's just the nature of the business. And so, again, we always have that urgency to improve rapidly, because we got to get a lot better very quickly, and we all understand that.
You were reluctant to discuss the draft while you were still preparing for games.
Yeah.
Now you can turn your attention to that.
Right.
How excited are you to have your pick of the litter? I mean, you can study all these guys and pick whoever you want.
Well, all we can handle is what's in front of us, and we have the number one pick. And so now you really get a chance to know who you're going to take. It's not the hoping Jonah Williams is going to be there and no one takes him before you. And now we get to make that selection. So obviously there's a lot that goes into that process as we research these guys and try to reach a conclusion on who we want to take. But we got plenty of time for that. That's the good news. And so you don't have to make that pick till the end of April. And so we'll use all our time to figure out what we want to do.
Aside from, I think a lot of people have y'all penciled in quarterback, aside from maybe that position, are there any other positions that y'all really feel like are in need of emphasis this offseason?
I think, that, again, those are things that we want to make sure we talk about as a staff this week. And so you do talk about as the season goes, hey, improvements we got to make, but you get a chance to take a step back, take New Year's off, take a deep breath there, and then come back and finalize the direction we believe we need to head in all areas of our personnel.
In that same vein, you've seen this game, seen this team for 16 weeks. Are there units that you felt like should have been better, or that you hoped would have performed better than they did? I
think all units need to perform better, and to only win 2 games, that's a reflection on the entirety of the team and the coaching staff. And so I don't believe that anybody walked through the building today thinking that they handled their job to the best of their abilities. Everybody's got room for improvement, and we got to put our egos aside and just be ready to make those corrections.
In regard to preparing for free agency, do you feel like the front office here is going to give you what you need to make improvements in that area?
We've been on the same page every step of the way. And again, those are conversations we'll have this week to make sure we're all heading in the same direction, which I know that we are, but just how we see the personnel going forward. And again, that's stuff that we'll take care of now that the season's over with.
Zach, how much better do you feel the team is playing these last few weeks than they did early?
A lot of good signs of improvement. We to get the 2 wins here in December was good. We expect a lot more than that. We certainly felt like we're in all these games. We always felt like every week we were going to go win. We felt like as the games got kicked off, and we're going to be in great position to win this game. And then we just didn't handle our business. The other teams that we played did. And so certainly there was a lot to be encouraged by on our end in December. Some improvements that we saw in a lot of different areas, and it was just great to finish the way we did yesterday, because that was the expectation we had all year, was to finish games out like that. And, to finish really the way that the game ended, the offense to get the ball, needing a big drive to go put points on the board up 7. We did that. Randy kicked the field goal to give us 3 points, and then the defense went and got a turnover. Like that's the conclusion we've been waiting for all. You look back at the Arizona game, very similar circumstances, and we didn't get it done. And so there's examples throughout the season of us not finishing the games that we had opportunities to do, and yesterday we finally did it, and so that was a positive way to end the year.
You started Johnson.
Go ahead, John.
You started Johnson and Phillips yesterday. How did they acquit themselves, and can they be part of the plan going forward?
They're certainly part of the plan. To what capacity, we don't have to make that decision yet, but 2 young players that we're encouraged by, who did some good things yesterday. Obviously they haven't played a ton, so there's still the growing process there, but 2 guys that we got a chance to take an extended look at, and both did some really positive things that we can build upon in the offseason going into next year.
You talk a lot about players improving. When you look back to Seattle and San Francisco in the first couple of years, for you personally, how differently were you approaching games at the end as a head coach, having been through almost a full season at the end compared to the way you were at the beginning? Did you see your style evolve at all?
Just learning from the situations. I wouldn't call them all mistakes sometimes. Just I think that our staff has been really open with each other in terms of okay, what could I have done better? What could you have done better? If we face this situation again, we got to make sure that we're really on top of it. And I think that's an area where the communication, which no one would ever see on game day or internally during the week, but that we've really made improvements as the season's gone to where there was a clear line of communication there. We were always on the same page. And we did really, I thought we improved at how we communicated things as they came. And Seattle seems like years ago. Certainly, I know that I've personally learned a lot and grown a lot over this last season, which is to be expected. First year as a quarterback coach, coordinator, head coach, whatever it is, and just got to continue to build off that.
Was it harder than you thought this job would be?
I don't think harder, and I've gotten an opportunity to work for some head coaches that I'm really close with, that I feel like I've gotten insight more so than other people might. And so the challenges that are in front of you until you have to confront them as the head coach. You can't really ever be fully prepared for it. But again, great people around us all throughout the building on all floors that are there to help you through the whole process. And I think we've seen growth from everybody as this year's gone.
Was there any point where you'd added your job security?
No. I mean, we have great communication throughout, and the key is we have to continue to make improvement, and now we have to make a big jump for next season. And so, again, we've always been open and honest with everybody in here about the expectations, and I know that we need to be better than 2-14. There's no doubt, and that's on me. So we'll look forward to getting that opportunity here next season.
I know you've studied quarterbacks before drafts in the past from your previous positions. How hands-on will you be as the head coach in studying the quarterback class potentially for the first pick?
Well, I think it's something you got to be heavily involved in. And, again, can't speak to any of these guys because I haven't watched them. But you got to evaluate all the positions that could be potentially first picks in the draft and be very involved in that. You know, like you would with any first-round pick. There's really no change in that regard. So excited to start that process.
I'm guessing that I probably know the answer to this question, but I'm asking anyways.
Go ahead.
Is it too early to say it's going to be anybody but Joe Burrow?
That would be way too early. You know, our personnel staff has done a great job of starting the process and evaluating these guys, but obviously the coaching staff likes to watch the players as well, and we haven't watched a snap on anybody yet. So we'll just piece together that process as we go.
You know, given this is back-to-back years of poor attendance here, it was the lowest since '93. Do you feel like you guys need to take somebody that can maybe revitalize the fan base and kind of get people back in seats?
I think we need to take somebody that's going to help us win games. And again, when we have the production on the field and the wins on the field, the fans will start to come back in the stadium. And so we know what we have to do to make that happen. I'm excited to get back to work today, you know, and start that process of the offseason because nobody wants to fill the stadium more than we do. You know, it's a lot more fun when you go out there and the stadium is packed and it's loud and, you know, it's some things you deal with at some other stadiums. And again, we know that it's a production-based business. You got to win games and then people will come to the stadium. So those are things that I look forward to improving next year.
For every Peyton Manning taken #1 overall, there's a Jamarcus Russell pan out. How hard is it to nail that quarterback selection?
I think you got to be very thorough with the first pick, whatever position it is. And we got plenty of time to do it. And so you don't make any assumptions. You got to do all the work with the personnel staff and the coaching staff, leave no rock unturned, and just make sure that whoever we decide to take with the first pick is somebody we fully vetted and all feel comfortable with and feel like can help us win a lot of games.
What are some of the traits you would want from a quarterback if you did pick a quarterback #1 overall?
Leadership, guy that leads by example, someone that outworks all of his teammates and elevates their level of play. There's no question there's the accuracy that plays into it and the timing and on the anticipation and all those things that come with it. But #1, you want a guy that will lead by example, show others the way, and raise the level of all their teammates.
You know, when you see a guy make a big jump, especially under a new coordinator or a new passing game coordinator, how do you go about evaluating, okay, how much of that is attributed to a scheme change and how much is attributed to personal growth?
Again, you have to really we got a chance to research past years of all these players. You know, it's not just what they did recently; it's what's their growth been throughout their college career, and it is tricky sometimes with college players. Do they just benefit because their schemes are great, they have great teammates around them, or is it a guy that has elevated the players around him? And so, those are all things that we fortunately have plenty of time to research and figure out, but. It's not always a clear-cut answer to what you're asking me because that's part of the draft, and that's why people have missed on draft picks before because it's not always clear-cut. And you really got to try to find what's inside the player and what motivates them, and make sure that they're all about the right stuff.
Are there specific tells that maybe you can say, okay, maybe this is an indicator that this was more player than scheme?
I think that's just part of the process of learning everything you can about them, and those things. Make themselves clear as the process. I don't think there's one thing I could put my finger on that would tell you that. It's just part of the process helps solve that problem.
Would you look for a guy that fits your scheme, or would you be willing to junk your scheme and build it around him?
You got to factor in everything to that. You can't have an ego that says, and I think we've demonstrated that this year, you know, and there's been some pretty drastic changes at some moments on offense and defense. And so again, we just want to win games, and so whoever we can bring in here that will help us win games, and we can whether we have to adapt our schemes to get the most out of those players, we're all willing to do that. And no one's going to be hard-headed and stubborn throughout this process. We're just going to make sure that we can make the Bengals the best team we can make them.
Did you think you were stubborn early on, and was that part of your growth?
No, I think that's part of what you believe in. And yeah, you hit it with all the things you just said, but there's things that you believe in. You've seen work firsthand, and there's some things you don't put pads on until training camp and really see, and then you're just going against one defense every day. And so then as the process gets going, you learn a lot about yourself. And so now we've gotten this whole year behind us. We've seen all that. We've seen what our division looks and feels like, and we know what our players are capable of and what they do best. And so it's just that's been a part of the process, and we've learned a lot about ourselves during that.
When you're trying to add leaders to your team, is it possible to bring in leaders from the outside, or do those pretty much have to be grown from within?
No, I think you can do both. I think it's great to have a little bit of both. And so, again, that's part of researching as you take these, where the captains, what do their coaches really think about them, what does their position coach think about them, guys that you evaluate, that are already in the league, you want to find out a lot about them to know how they'll affect your team. But I don't think it always has to be homegrown. I think it can be, anybody that has the respect of the guys that play. Everyone wants to win, and so they'll respect anyone that they see put in the work and do it the right way. That's the easiest way to follow a guy.
Do you feel like this place would be a hard sell for a free agent right now because new coach 2-14, everything that happened where you have to sell something bigger or something?
No, I think anyone that's played against us, as silly as it may sound, because we're 2-14, sees a team that fought like crazy, and that great days are ahead. And I think people want to be a part of that, and I know this coaching staff believes that. The players I've talked to this morning all believe that. That gets out. People understand that and see what it is for what it is, and so I have no concerns there.
What kind of mentality are you looking for? What kind of mentality are you looking for in the offense? It's been set around here. There's been too many nice guys in here. Are you looking for a different kind of a guy?
Well, it's okay if a guy has an edge to him. The bottom line is, do they do everything the right way at a championship level? That's what we need. We need that standard across the board from everybody. And you can impose that leadership on guys a little bit when you're consistently doing it the right way. Then you've gained the respect of people, and you can start to hold other people accountable. But if you got some flaws in the way you prepare, and you're trying to call other guys out, then it doesn't work that way. That's guys see right through that. So we got to have that consistency from all of our players.
Is that part of what makes the Senior Bowl such an attractive prospect? Because there's so much tape out there. Everybody's got it. All the other coaches are going to be watching the practice, but you get the chance to really kind of see what makes these guys tick and what they're about.
You do, and there's still unknowns that come out of that process. But again, it's just one more way to learn about guys and see how they best learn, how they prepare, what their work ethic is like, and so it's an opportunity we would love to have.
Is that a decision you expect to be made today?
I think relatively soon. I don't know the exact timeline on that, but I think sooner rather than later.
One more minute, please.
You said y'all made some drastic changes, and obviously in how much the personnel packages you use, you were really heavy 11, changed throughout the end of the year. Moving forward, would you want to go back to how much 11 that you ran at the beginning of the year, or are you willing to, augment that according to what you?
Yeah, we're willing to do whatever it's going to take to put us in the best position, and so that's the beauty of the offseason. We get a chance to spend the next couple months getting ready for, the thought process already, getting ready for our players to come back in April and how we want to start off. And so, again, putting our egos aside and, okay, this is what we envisioned when we walked in the door. This is how it changed during the season. What's the best of both worlds? And I think we'll do a great job evaluating all that.
What was the turning point? I mean, you were strictly an 11 guy, you ran it more than anybody.
Yeah.
Was there a point, I know you said the flight to London, but was there another point that said, okay, maybe we need to do something else?
That was the best time when you have the most time to evaluate it, is really during that bye week. And so, again, there's week to weeks where we involve some new things, but I would say that was a turning point for us on both sides of the ball.
How different do you think the 2020 playbook will look from the 2019 playbook?
Impossible to predict right now. But again, while things are so fresh on our minds, we get a chance to put all our thoughts on paper and communicate as a staff and start to formulate the initial plan for when the guys come back later in the offseason so that, when you're looking at your notes and you're reviewing the film in March and April, you're not trying to remember why you were doing certain things. So it's important to get all that stuff while it's still fresh on your brain.
Trey Hopkins, you guys have extended him.
Yeah.
What, the timing of that is different than it's traditionally been around here. Why now, and specifically speak to him as the
Yep,
guy?
great example of everything that we want to be about here. A guy who approaches his job the right way every single day, sets the standard in that line room, has been a great communicator for us, does his job to the best ability every day he walks in the building, and has gotten better since we've been here. His road to this point is not unique in a sense, but he's earned it. And so it's great to see a guy who's fought for however many years he's done it, and to finally be rewarded. He's earned it. He's earned every cent of it, and so we're excited to have him back.
Just a couple more, please.
Y'all just spent a first-round pick in 18 on center, Billy Price. I mean, what does that mean for him, and what do you want to see from him? Not that you signed a center long-term at that spot.
Yeah, I mean, Billy's approach has been great, and so it's more about Trey than it is Billy. Trey had a great season for us. He's a guy we want to reward. We felt good about him there at center, and just like all of our other linemen, we fight to find roles for them to make our line the best we can make it.
Zach, let's say, for example, that you and Dukes think we need a franchise quarterback. Mike Brown says we'd be better off with the Dolphins situation of 3 first-round picks. Does that work like a jury room, or is Mr. Brown judge and jury? And
I'll keep that between all of us, but again, we've been on the same page every step of the way.
what happens when you're not on the same page?
We talk through it like any group would do, and but so far there's been no issues.
How'd you find time to get a haircut?
I got a haircut on Friday, so that's when I found the time. But I was wearing a hat yesterday in the game, so you wouldn't have seen that. So, yeah, I get it on Friday.